Yes, we are live once again. Here we are on a Thursday night, the Reentry Connect podcast. We have a little topic tonight of changing self to changing laws. We have the same panelists as we always have, these two intellectual people I have before me. We're here to talk about how changing self into changing laws is very impactful in a lot of people's lives. We go from learning the law inside of prison and coming out and being able to implement it, in everyday life out here, reaching people and reaching those who are uneducated with it. And
Yeah.
I know that at times we may try to wonder, like, hey, can I know enough of the law? No, we can't. It's a constant learning curve, learning experience, and all we can do is grow from each other. So here we are to make you guys aware, to bring great information to you. And we're just going to go ahead and go around the table. Go ahead, Miss Sarita, introduce yourself. I know they love your introduction. And we can go to Miss
Well,
Cindy after.
oof, I just appreciate the opportunity to be here once again, Keenan, and share the message. My name is
All
Sarita
right.
Tosin. I'm a keynote speaker, and I'm also a powerful advocate for people who are incarcerated and people who are no longer incarcerated, and just any human being that is marginalized. So I'm really excited about this topic. I'm ready to learn more because we should always be learning, and I just want to start off by saying, even if you don't know what you're doing, start doing something. Sheena?
Mm.
Hi, I'm Sheena Eastburn. I am in Missouri. I was incarcerated for 25 years, and I have life without parole at one time, and now I am a criminal paralegal. I work for National Leadership Council, Human Rights Watch to end life without parole, and among many other things I do, but a strong advocate for one, for those that are incarcerated. I can't ever imagine just leaving the people that are amazing inside. So I advocate now with legislators and senators, and I thank you for letting me be here again today.
Oh, that is great. That is great. So I want you guys to dig right into it. You guys are the
Okay.
lawyers and the experts. But changing laws, I understand that's a big point. But why is it important to change self first?
Hmm.
Why is it important to change self first before getting to the legislative part of things?
Well, I think for me, I think one, if somebody wants to listen to you, if they're going to listen to you, they have to see the power of change within yourself, so that
Mm.
when they can believe that it can be possible for other people to have redemption as well. So if you're going and you're doing the same things, and but you're going and trying to talk to legislators, but yet you're still in and out, or you're doing the same things you were doing, nobody's going to listen to you. But if you show that you've changed, you're helping your community, you're working, you might be going to school, whatever it is that you're doing that you have done to better yourself, you are an example for the rest of them that are inside that
Mm.
still need us out here to be a voice that change is possible. So if you can change yourself, they're able to change. So let's change laws and let more of us out.
Mm.
Yes.
Miss
And I'm
Sheena?
sure I didn't make this up, but we want to be the change that we want to
Mhm.
see,
And-
you know?
Ooh, that's Gandhi. Gandhi said that.
yeah.
Okay,
Gandhi.
Gandhi. It
Yeah,
must have stuck with
Gandhi.
me because
That's it.
actually, when I go and talk to somebody, they don't know that I've been to prison. They
Yeah.
would never think that. They see
Mm.
us,
Yeah,
Keenan doing well, clean cut young gentleman,
thank
Sheena,
you.
Sarita, looking good in the 40s,
Mm. All
and they
right.
don't think, hey, this woman who, is in the legal field, hey, this woman who is community outreach educator for a program that provides academic enrichment for kids, and
Mhm.
Keenan, they don't look at us and see our past, because
Yes.
that changing of self, that transformed whatever your opinion was. That's not who I am.
Mhm.
Wow,
That's not
wow.
who I am.
Yeah, and that's powerful that you say that because oftentimes you may, see like here out in the world, you'll see people contradict themselves. They'll say, "Hey, yeah, we want to change laws, we want to do this, but here we are, we're still promoting like a lot of the killing and the rap music and the things like that. That's really having a big chokehold on a lot of the youth today." And
Mhm.
my thing is like, if we are looking to make a change, in the world, as you mentioned, we have to be the change first.
Yeah.
We have to be the role models. We have to be, hey, I'm not what I've been through. I'm not, who they said I was. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and it speaks volume. I think it's one of those things where it's your character, it projects more than what you say out your mouth.
Right.
So that's why we have to be wary of what we do and how we conduct ourselves and how we present ourselves before people, because you never get a second chance with a first impression, or excuse me, let me rephrase that. You never get a second chance to make a first impression.
Right.
So people will judge you, on the way the way you move, the way you talk, things like that. But consistency is everything, and that's what I believe, so.
And you never know
Awesome.
who's watching. You
Yeah.
never know who can help you in an immense way. So if you're not doing the next right thing when nobody's looking, when somebody is looking, you don't know what you're missing out on. So now that we've made this big change in our lives and we want to do something productive, as Keenan said, the first thing you do is walk the walk. But I think we're talking to some people right now that are listening that want to be able to talk the talk too. So I know that before we, had to kind of discuss how people need to just go and, meet their legislators. What a lot of people don't know is the Capitol in your town is most likely open. You just have to go through the body scan. And from there, people go and lobby all the time. The problem is we're afraid and we think that these people are inaccessible or that they're not going to hear what we have to say. And I'm going to tell you, sometimes they don't want to hear what you have to say, but let it be an election year. Girl, they want to hear everything you got to say. You hear me? They want to hear everything you have to say because they want to stand behind whatever it takes to get that vote, the power of the vote.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it is important for people to know that, you are the people that put those people in power. So we, the people, have to put them in the positions they're in. So just remember when you're really listening to legislators and senators and judges and all these people who have, you vote on to put in a position, just because they look good or, they're going to the right church or they say, actually investigate them before you start just voting, and don't vote because your friend voted for them. Find what you like about them and what are they lining up with what you want them to do as people in position of leadership.
That's powerful. That's powerful. So with the changing of the laws, now we know that oftentimes that, in every state is different. And I know we've mentioned and talked before about even something simple as being on parole and being able to vote. Don't you think that, okay, in the state of Pennsylvania, if you're on parole, you're able to vote. Don't you think that should be the law in every state? Or how do what do y'all think about that?
I believe absolutely everybody should have their chance to be able to affect change. And it's just a farther way, or it's just another way to tamp down somebody's voice. Just like, I was convicted of a felony 15 years ago. I still sometimes need letters of recommendation. I still need people to vouch for my character for things that people every day can do. Recently was looking into getting a real estate license, and they have an automatic rejection list.
What?
My crime is on the automatic rejection list. So when you tell someone you're on parole, and a lot of people will be on parole for the rest of their lives, that's a thing too. You can get out and have life parole. You can have probation that keeps getting extended, and there goes your right to ever you have a voice, to ever be able to affect legislation. So the barriers are still there. No matter how far you're going, no matter what you're doing, there's always going to be someone that wants to take it away from you. So that's what we're working on, is getting the message out. Where you're at, somebody had the sense to make a provision for those individuals. Where we're at, they have not.
Wow. Ms. Sheena?
I know. I think I got off parole. I got off parole November 22nd. And I think I was a registered voter by shortly after that. Like after Thanksgiving, I was like at my courthouse becoming a registered voter because I could not wait. I feel like that, we're Americans. We make mistakes, but we still have a voice, and we still should have a voice of the people that we put in position over our state. over our country. I think it's important that everyone has a voting right. I think,
Mhm.
they take so much away from us all the time. And I understand we make choices that put us in that position. But once
Mhm.
again, we are redeemable. We're living different lives. We are trying to be the best version of ourselves. Therefore, our voice matters to who we put in those positions. And I think that, that it's just another way of them saying, yep, you don't matter. You don't matter
Mhm.
Yeah,
again. And
Wow.
we
and
matter.
that's
We
sad.
matter and we're going to be heard. And so, you
Yeah.
we have to take that into account, that it's time for us to not be scared to vote either, because there's so many people who don't even vote,
Yeah.
you
Mm.
know, because they either they don't know they can vote,
Mhm.
or so maybe, I think it was Michigan, they did a huge thing about going out and letting people know how much, that they could vote, how much their voice mattered. And it made a huge changes in Michigan that they needed.
Mm. And I see right here, there's a comment that's stated here by Ontario Smith. He said most of the people don't know and would rather not care. What are some solutions to be to better inform the common folk?
All right,
And
look, can I jump in there?
sure,
Can I
sure,
jump in there?
go right
Okay,
ahead.
let me inform the common folk. You got a neighbor, you work at a job. Okay, so who do you want coming to that neighborhood and who do you want coming to that job? Do you want somebody who's confident that they're never going back to prison, that they're going to be, they're going to they've already changed, they've had
Mhm.
the provisions in place to know that they're going to be successful, to know that they have rights? Or
Mm.
do you want a hardened criminal coming out and he's hard because he knows he doesn't have the same rights as you? He didn't
Wow.
have the same, he's not going to get the same chance. He's going to be held down by all the barriers that are put up. So do you want the angry person coming out, or do you want to help to change legislation? Because here's the thing, at the end of the day, people get out of prison every day. They're getting out of prison. So it really goes back to preparing people to come home. But when they get home, don't put up extra obstacles and barriers.
Mm,
And
mm,
I think
Let
for
those
common
barriers crush somebody's soul.
I think for common folk too, have a conversation with them. If you are into what's going on, and you're listening to the local leaders and the people that are getting voted into that, just sit down and be like, why don't you vote? Just ask them, what are you scared of? Have that conversation, start that conversation, you know, because a lot of people feel like they're not educated enough because they don't understand politics. And so
mhm,
they don't get involved with them. And it's not about that. You can be very simple. Listen, I live in Redneck Valley, okay, with the hillbillies of the hillbillies, okay? But I still have a conversations of, you want your farms to succeed? Do you want, people to have second chances? I have just those
Mhm.
simple conversations of what somebody might. Are you tired of paying personal property taxes on something you already own every single year? So talk to them about the things that matter and be like, did you know if you vote, you can get those things changed? And then they start
mhm.
maybe caring about why they should vote.
Yeah, and I just
Find out what their passion is. Is it
yeah, and I want to
education?
circle back to people getting out every day, because I just want to clarify. Make that your
Mhm,
cousin, make that your brother, make that someone who's close to you. How do you want them to come
mhm,
home? Do you want them to come home stripped of every right, jumping over every hoop? Or do you want to,
mhm.
kind of help set people up for success? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
and I
I
like what
think
she was
his
saying.
question, well, Sarita, was
Oh,
like, how do you get most people to care about voting?
Mhm.
Um,
oh, okay,
most of
okay.
most of the time people don't care, and what are the solutions
Yeah.
to better inform them? So find
Okay.
something that they do care about. Do they care about education in their community? Do they care
Mhm.
about, paying taxes, or do they care about incarcerated people coming home? Find out what their care is and let
Mm,
them know. Did you know that this legislator is running and he believes in better education? This
mhm.
senator's running and he believes in reform and criminal justice. You know, it's having that conversation.
Yeah. And to add to that, if you notice that over the years, and this is before social media and technology became what it is today, there was more access in a way of people pay more attention to the newspaper. They paid more attention to the news and things like that. So they pretty much knew who the mayor was. They knew who the commissioner was and things like that. But nowadays, there's so much of a distraction on this TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Like he said, they'll rather not care because they have all the distractions. So when they do go to the vote, or when the voting pool is up, people say, well, I'm not going to the voting pool. That's why the people that they don't want end up in office, or the people that the majority don't want end up in office, because they didn't go and cast their vote. They didn't go to the pool to cast the things. So a lot of times people, they rather not care. It'll take something. It seems like in this world today, it seems like if it doesn't affect them or their family or their kids, they're just not concerned about it. If they were to say, well, we're kicking all the kids out of school, they can't go to school. Now they ready to jump up and do something, because now how they going to go to work, or how they going to support themselves, because now it's affecting them. But other than that, things that's affecting people, that's incarcerated, that's trying to get home, people voting on second chances, things like, people really don't care if they don't have a loved one or someone in that situation. So it's very hard. That's a very tough thing to do, is, how can we convince them or better inform them, to care about voting.
I think you had it with better informed. Thanks for clarifying, Sheena, because I kind of saw the looks on people's. I was like, oh my God, what that? But yeah, if it doesn't relate to something that's going to affect them, that's the way that does go, Keenan. But I really think we should kind of think more about educating people. Like she said, sometimes knock on doors, whatever it takes to, let people be more informed, because one of those laws, I would bet, is going to affect someone some type of way. And your voice counts. And the reason things are tipped certain directions is because the people that are voting are making sure that they know who's for what, and what, and what they're about. You need to know the same.
Well, and you need to, and maybe even talk about, when your children get older or your grandchildren get older, do you want them to have better education? What if they get in trouble, when you want somebody to care about reform and things like that? So, like, if they don't care because it doesn't affect them, but it could affect your generations coming after you, of the people you put in the house. So those are the ones making laws today, and those laws could put your people in prison for a long time and nobody let them out or care.
Absolutely. In Ontario, I think Sheena says this all the time. Can you see what he said?
Should start at DOC. Well, Mr. Ontario, I think it starts when they go to jail. Before they even get to DOC, we should start reentry when they get arrested. Because even if they don't go to DOC, if we start reentry even in the jailhouses where they are getting in and out, but what if we started reform there, and then we prevent them from ever going to DOC because we started in the jails?
Well, I think me personally, if you ask me, well, I know Machina said that you should start in the jails. To me, in my opinion, it seemed like the county jails, people are just at that first stage. They're detoxing. They really didn't learn a lesson yet. They didn't sit long enough. That's just my opinion, to really start the reformation there. But now when you're dealing with like people that's doing long-term sentences, lifers, got about 20, 30 in. And of course, it started a long time before that. But the county jail, is kind of hard to reach people there. Some, now look at the twist. It might be a good percentage of the ones you can reach. But down in the county jail, it's like,
Well, I'm talking about the ones that are facing longer sentences.
Yeah.
Like they go in and they're facing, they've got a robbery, or they've got, a murder, because if we start right then and we're like, hey, you're going to prison, most likely. So let's start informing them, when they get to prison, how should you do your time? Reform starts now. So before you get to DOC, let's start looking at programs that are in Crossroads Correctional Center. What can you do when you get there? What is the things that you need to do? And we start reforming and start building bridges between families at that current time. Because, a lot of people go to prison and some people just don't know what to say, and other people just leave you. And the one person there is your mama.
That's
or
right.
your auntie. You know what I'm saying? So the homies, they're gone. Ain't none
Oh,
of them
yeah.
sending you money. Ain't none of them trying to help you become better. It's your mama making sure you have a TV and some tennis shoes and canteen.
Yep.
So, you know, and we want to build those gaps from there, because I think, building that gap and starting to um, reunite families why they are going through the transition in prison. Then,
Mhm.
because a lot of times we come home, we've changed, and our people haven't. So
Wow.
Or they want you to still be the same person.
reform
That's
has to start at home too.
That's
Yeah.
it.
People have to change at home, because when we come home, we ain't the same. We're not the
That's
same people
true.
anymore.
That's
And we
true.
come home sometimes to a same situation and the same kind of trauma, and it reminds us and it takes us
Mhm.
back to those places. And so
Yeah.
I think, if we could start bridging that gap, that families need reform too.
Yeah.
Prep for
And that's
release. Prep for
yeah, and
release.
that's and
Program we're
that's
working on.
and that's profound right there that you say that. Like you said, we're going to prison, and like you said, we'll reform our lives. But here it is, we'll come home to like the same situation, that led up to whatever the
Mhm.
traumas and the pains we've been through in life. So now all of a sudden they think, oh, you're different now. You think you're
Yep.
better than me?
Mm.
Oh, you're
Yep.
educated now. You
Yep.
think, oh, because you know a little bit of the law, and oh, you can
Yeah.
talk with the politicians and things like that. Oh, because you educated yourself, you're nothing but a jailbird, this, that, and the third. So now they're discouraging you, but in your mind, you did something great. But however, some people may not want to see you do better than them. You know what I'm saying? So like
Especially coming out of prison. Like, oh, you
especially
come out of
coming out
prison,
of
you doing
prison.
better than me?
Exactly. It's just more so, okay. Oh yeah, he got a job. They say he's doing well for himself, as if we're supposed to be doing bad. Or
Absolutely.
although he's supposed to be doing bad. Oh, he just purchased another property. How'd he do that? Doesn't he have a felony? And there we go with the stereotypes and the things that they don't know. You know what I mean? So but it's sometimes like that's just the world. It's always going to be something, you try to take 5 steps forward, something don't try to knock you back, 4 steps. You got to take it again. Like, so I just find that the world is just like that. It's very, optimistic in some areas.
And I think that
Yeah.
people need to remember, no matter who it is, if they're toxic for you when you come home,
Yeah.
if it's your sister, your brother, your family member,
Cut 'em
just like
off.
you removed yourself from toxicity in prison,
That's
do it
right.
out here, because,
True.
you have to, continue that. Don't allow yourself to go back down trauma lane. Don't allow yourself to go back to a
Mhm.
place that you didn't want, that you have outgrown, that you have transformed from. And
That's right.
sometimes you have to walk away from your own family. I've had to walk away from my own
I
family
have
because
to.
they
I
don't
have
mean me
to.
no good. They're doing the same thing they were doing 30 years ago when I went to prison. And yeah, I'm not doing it with you.
That's it. That's it.
Well, I remember I saw it written, they tried to bury us, but we were seeds. So
Mm,
even just to touch way back to the county jail, and people are, they might not get that time. That seed's being planted. But when we come
mm.
home, sometimes our tree is just too big for the plants we left behind.
True,
And
and that's
it
true.
and a big thing is too, people expect you to come out that same person 15, 20, 30 years later, and that's
No,
not who we are.
they're not.
That's
And
not
that's
who we
again,
are.
that's the power of the reformation. That's the power
Yeah.
of rehabilitation.
Yep.
As they said, I think it was Cardell that said, we are the living evidence of rehabilitation. That's why we can be held credible because of the things we do, because of the things we're involved in, the things we're creating. You know, how many people can really get on a podcast or a broadcast and express, hey, this is what I've accomplished. These are the things. If I did it, you can do it too.
Right.
Yeah.
So and people they'll look at it like, oh no, they don't want to accept that. But here it is, you'll be willing to give that helping hand to them, but they're rebellious because they don't want to be taught. They don't want to be looked down upon. We're not looking down on it. We're actually trying to help you up. But that's not how people taking it. You know, of course, yes, when we went to prison, we had a lot of time on our hands and we sharpened ourselves. You know, I sharpened
Mhm.
myself. You know, I told somebody the other day, I played mind games. You know, I played the Scrabble, chess. You know, I even learned music. That's how I learned. Like, people ask me, did I go to school for music? No, I learned music in prison. That's because I
Wow.
decided to go in and I decided to read 100 books. You know, I decided to study it, the theoretical part of it. That's why I could read it, write it, play it by ear, whatever the case may be, and go into any college and dine with any professor and let you know. But again, I took that initiative to better myself. I took that initiative to say, hey, I'm not going to be what I was before I got here. And I was a kid.
Mhm.
I was only 15 years old.
Right.
I was just a baby. But it's only by grace that okay, I was able to make that transformation and gain a lot of the certificates. Like you see some, I even got a couple up there, you know, different things, you know, to better yourself. But
Yeah.
again, out here in the world, it seems like some people just don't want to grasp hold of something like that, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sorry for
How do we
taking up.
give them
No.
impetus? How do we make them want to grab hold of that, Keenan?
Well,
I
I
have my
believe
own ideas, but I want to hear what you have to say.
to make. I mean, at the again going back to being the example,
Yeah.
not shunning them away, you know, even if they give you, you know, all you can do is just lead by example. Just
Mhm.
keep showing them, just keep even if they do reach out but don't know how to express it or say it, you just got to meet a person where they're at. You know,
Mhm.
it's not easy sometimes. It's not easy, you know, to see your nephew supersede you within a matter of a couple years. It's not easy for a cousin to say that they've been in that same position. But I believe that yeah, you just got to meet them where they are. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, a lot more will come to me, but I want to hear what you have to say as well.
Well, when it comes to change, and if I'm
Uh-huh.
speaking to someone about it, then you just have to address what are you working on right now in your mind? What are you learning today? What are you putting forth towards
Mhm.
changing yourself? Because if you're not putting in any work, then nothing is going to change. You know, we all
Mhm.
know the adage, if you keep doing the same thing, expecting something to change, that's exactly right. It's not just crazy, it's ignorant. Okay.
Mhm.
You've got to get up and put in some work if you want to change.
Yeah.
That's just like when I get up and, I'm moving through the day, I'm in my mind, even in the shower, prioritizing things I need to do. I'm driving thinking I need to call Sheena and see if maybe we can do a workshop. I'm
Mhm.
thinking in my
Mhm.
mind ways to better myself because that can't be just something you take a day off from. Like,
Right.
it's not like taking a day off from work. Like today, I'm gonna, just sit here and fester and maybe take a nap and watch movies. Okay, well, while you're watching those movies, you need to be thinking about ways that you can improve, ways that you can,
Mhm.
do something. Don't and junk in, junk out. Don't go
Mhm.
watch, John Wick shoot up a room or, people sitting around smoking weed and stuff. That's not helping. Junk in, junk
It's not.
out.
Yeah.
I feel like we should always be in a constant state of learning, or else you might as well just give up. I'm just kidding. No, don't give up,
Mhm.
but you
Oh,
should be learning, learning, learning. You should
yeah,
be
yeah.
doing something. Change doesn't happen by itself. You have to
Mhm.
have
Mhm.
some type of guidance you have to guide yourself. So there we
Yeah.
go. Discipline.
And
All right.
I would just want to add that, whether you've been incarcerated or not incarcerated, every day is a new day to start again. If you
That's
don't
right.
like something in your life, you have the ability to change. If you woke up today, you got the choice to change it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Power and
Yeah.
change. Yeah. Power and change. So let me ask y'all this. So knowing that you change yourself and you know that a lot of that comes before being able to change laws,
Mhm.
have you ever been looked upon as any type of miscreant or not worthy of being able to be a law changer out here in the world since you've been out?
My own family, it wasn't that they looked down on me. They asked me, "Why are you doing this? Why
Hmm.
can't you just let it go and move on with your life?"
Wow.
Hmm.
So they couldn't understand why I couldn't just move on like a lot of my other friends did. They got this such and such got out and they don't do all this stuff. Why are you traveling? Why are you going to talking to these people? Why does it matter? You're done with that life.
Wow.
So for me, And I had to explain to them I'm never done with this life, because the people that are still sitting there now are the ones who helped bring about change in me. The ones who are
Mhm.
still there were my mentors. And so, I had to come to a point of, it wasn't about people made me feel that way. I felt that way about myself sometimes. Like,
That's right.
who am I to go and talk about that? And then,
Mm,
it was actually like dream.org and Human Rights Watch, these organizations I were working with, was like, your unique experience gives you the credibility to go
mm,
and talk to these people because you're the expert in the field.
Yeah.
You are the expert in incarceration because you spent 25 years incarcerated. And that's when I
right,
thought, wait a minute, I'm an expert at something. Not that
right.
we all want to be experts about incarceration, but they were right. I was an expert in this field, and my story, could help change laws, or it might be somebody else's survival guide if I share my story.
Hmm. That's powerful. Miss
Yeah.
Sarita?
I have to touch on what Sheena said towards the end, self-talk. Like, I held myself in such a manner, I wouldn't allow anyone to look down on me, but I also wouldn't allow them to
Mhm,
know the complete me. Because in my
mhm,
inside, I was like, oh my gosh, I've been to prison all these years. Oh my gosh, they're going to think that I'm still violent. They're going to think that I'm angry. They're
mhm,
going to think my
mhm,
smile isn't real. They're going to think I'm
mhm,
fake and phony. They're going to think I'm dumb because I don't understand this technology, but I'm
right.
struggling. So on the outside, I had on my, my warrior gear, but inside I was eating myself up. So fast forward, when I finally embraced it, hey, just like Sheena said, I'm not going to forget where I came from, but I know all
Yeah.
these people. How am I going to go and protest and say that I'm one of the people that needs the help if no one knows? So the self
Mm,
talk was holding me back. But here's another thing. I even going to Jeff City, which is our capital, and lobbying for something would
mhm,
still be just a tad bit apprehensive because I don't know everything. But
mhm.
that's maybe 10%. 90% is I have faith and I'm going to be led in the right direction. Someone's going to hear me and someone's going to help me. So I talked myself out of being the honest uh person that people weren't going to see that who I was. I talked myself out of
Mhm.
accurate representation. So now that I know I can go into these rooms and talk to these people, yeah,
Mhm.
I don't know it all,
Mhm.
but I can learn.
Yeah, yeah, and I know that one of the challenges, especially for me, like when I had first came out, I knew that I was away for a while, and and I know quite a lot of us may have that little fear, like, wow, are we going to be able to fit in? Like we know a lot of people
Mhm.
are ahead of us. When we get around these politicians and things like that, if we do have these conversations, are they going to judge us and things like that? And actually, sometimes they do. They do. They do. They will judge you,
Oh,
especially if you
yeah.
tell me I just been out 6 months. Of
Yeah.
course, they'll say, "Well, what can a person do in 6 months?" I mean, a lot of us can accomplish a lot of things, but at the same time, yeah, do we have to live a bit? Yes, a little bit, yes. But having that little like that hesitation, like that, people are going to judge me and things like that. It can be discouraging.
Mm.
But I always want to encourage people, even if you're looking at this video, don't never feel discouraged. You just go after it as if, it was your God given ability, your God given calling. Because
Yeah.
if you feel discouraged, you're going to always put yourself in a box. You're not going to be able to grow. You're not going to be able to learn anything because, I mean, truth in the put, to learn, you got to get around people.
Yeah.
We learn from others. I mean, you learn in the books as well, but what good better learning is learning from somebody that has the experience. You know what I'm saying? So, but I know that was a big factor too. Again, trying to fit in, and then people really looking at you, putting you down, and looking like because I remember Mr. Rita had mentioned in the past, it was a time where you said you was in a rush trying to find some shoes. You wound up going to the place and the shoes was too big, and people
Yes.
probably looking at you like, what in the world is going on? But you that was your willpower, it was your desire, it was your your eagerness to make a change, to get around people, that really means a lot. It's okay. It's all right. Just leave your light off.
Yes, I know. I'm not gonna say I'm
You
a
know,
child of the light, though. I can't be in the dark.
so
I do think that fear within ourselves, I think we talk ourselves down a lot, I think we stop ourselves from doing stuff because like you were a kid when you went in. I was a kid. But when you're incarcerated for a long period of time and you come out here, you don't feel like you fit in anywhere, really. You feel like everybody's looking at you different. I know I went to a soda machine. It was one of them ones that were computerized and you push the little button and stuff.
That happened to me too.
I kept standing at it going, Dr. Pepper. I thought I talked to it. I didn't know, and I remember all these people standing behind me waiting in line. And then finally I just stepped aside and I felt like, oh, they're all judging me, probably thinking I'm crazy, and I thought, well, maybe they just think I'm from a different country, but I think a lot of times when I came home, I felt people were judging me. But I put that on myself a lot. I didn't feel like I fit in, but because when I get around other people who's been incarcerated, I already feel at home. We're already brother and sister, whether we've did time together or not. There's already that connection, that understanding with each other that doesn't have to be the unspoken word. We know what we went through. We know we went through a war zone, a different type of combat. And so for me, I would sit in a room and I'd feel so alone with a room full of people because I felt, and I went through depression. I went through fear of going places. I mean, I really had to overcome a lot of different stuff because prison doesn't prepare you for the fear of coming home. They don't prepare you for the fears or target those. I did a workshop at Chillicothe and, we was talking about different stuff. And I was like, you worry all the time. You worry about this, you worry about that. I said, but what if you write your problem down and then think about, okay, what's the solution? If every day you thought, let's think solution. I already know what my problem is. I fear this. What would be the solution to that fear? So if we'd spend more time, same thing. I'm going to go talk to my legislator. What would be the solution?
Yeah.
We all know the problem. Criminal justice reform needs done. So let me go and tell them the solution because I've walked it. I'm the expert. Let me tell you. And remember those legislators and senators, they all have skeletons in their closet. Our skeleton's already out. So we have nothing to fear about being told about nothing. So you go in there with your confidence that you don't have nothing to hide. I'm sure they're all still hiding something.
Wow.
I mean, truth be told.
And that's true. That's true.
Yeah, and they're people too.
Yeah, they're people too. Skeletons in their closets. They probably just haven't been caught with certain things.
Right.
But like
I
you said,
remember I was having a conversation with some. I'm sorry to interrupt, but
no, continue.
I don't know if me and Sheena were having this conversation about legislators need to come into a facility and see the people and meet those people that have been there that are warehoused. So it actually takes people, me, Sheena, Keenan, that have been there to introduce
Humanize.
them. Hey, this is me, and I came from here. Please go visit those I left behind. Please, let me tell you a story about when I was incarcerated and how I wanted to go and have further schooling, but since I had college credits, I didn't qualify. So, can you help me to facilitate education for people who are inside? Because I was adversely affected by the fact I wasn't able to continue my education. It held me back. I wanted those things. Legislator person, how do you feel about the elderly in prison and how much it's costing that health care? Because I know some elderly people and I'd like for you to go and meet them. I feel like if I don't know exactly which House bill or Senate bill that I need you to stand behind, but I just have a brief overview in my mind, then let me humanize it and tell you about a few people I know that it would affect. And I don't have to know every detail in the bill, but I'd know this. It might help someone I know. Let me tell you their name.
Wow.
Yeah. And this is where it gets to getting with your lucky state. Your lucky state. Of course, your lucky state. Your state. And you find out what organizations are there. Because when you show up with an organization who maybe already has credibility, maybe you just go the first time and watch them. And the second time, you maybe just introduce yourself. The third time, you share a little bit more about your story. And each time you'll get a little more comfortable, just like anything else in life. You don't have to, first time you go to legislator and be like, here I am, and this is what I want. Go with an organization, go with a group of people who are already going to change laws.
Exactly.
And go as a support team, because the more people that show up, even if you don't speak, your body says, I'm here and I care.
Yeah.
They're
And
counting bodies.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
just being in the rooms and spaces.
that's it. Getting their rooms and spaces. And again, and I understand that, a lot of individuals may want to change things themselves. Oh, I'm gonna start my own nonprofit. I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. Yeah, I understand that, but it takes time to build influence and have people follow you and what you believe in. It's a lot easier, like you said, to join other organizations that's already doing the work and then figure out ways that you can help and be of a good service to them, that you may have a voice in somewhat sector of that organization eventually. Then eventually you could probably birth a branch, concerning, your own organization. But but that's very important to remember that, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like, we're not reinventing the wheel. So, these ideas have been thought before. They just never come to fruition. So what can we do to help them come to fruition? We were talking about good time credit. Good time credit has been talked about and talked about and talked about. Lowering the 85% statute has been talked about and talked about and talked about. 85% of your sentence. I was on a 17-year sentence, so I had to give 14 and a half years of my life within the penitentiary. And then the other 2.5, I was good enough to come out into society as far as they were concerned. So we can talk about it until we're blue in the face. But when we're actually making moves to make it happen, so a lot of this that we're going to be talking, or that if you talk to your legislator about, they know. If you go to a not-for-profit and they're actively doing things, they know. So you can learn. It's not reinventing the wheel, but if you have a better way to go about it, then when your time comes. Just, just to really break it down and make it simple, get in where you fit in. If somebody is supporting and wanting to do the things that you want to do, and they've got it already established, join in. And then establish your own thing. If it's not established, then work with others who can get it together.
Exactly. And a lot of times, another thing is, a lot of times we'll see like popular nonprofits or popular people, may even have some influencers or famous people behind the organizations, and we may think, oh, I want to be a part of that. Sometimes we can't see what's going on behind closed doors. We don't know how those people are, in person. I've seen some real genuine small organizations, but they're the most genuine and still have a lot of help and a lot of support and things like that. But then when you get around these people, you're thinking that they're going to be acting or supposed to be a certain way. You'd be in for a rude awakening, because like I've been in some situations like that where I thought that, hey, I think getting around these people would be great. But then when you start seeing the characters of these individuals, you start saying like, nah, this is not where I'm supposed to be. And never even try to force yourself being somewhere where you're not welcome. Never try to push yourself in the door or convince a person or convince people how good of a person you are, or convince people of how much knowledge you have and how much you could be a asset to their organization, whatever they have going on. Because if a person doesn't like you, or if a person just doesn't want to brush you off, you should never invite yourself to something like that. That's just my encouragement.
Well, a lot of nonprofits, they're like high school sometimes. They're like cliques. They got their cliques. And I mean, there is one organization I've worked with that has taught me so much, and that's dream.org. It's a big organization. But what I loved about them is they invested in me. And so if I was interested in legislation, so I went to a 6-month program to learn how to talk to legislators. They taught me, and they're not the only ones that do it. You've got Restore Justice, Just Us, Dream.org. There's a lot of big organizations who actually have workshops. And if you get a hold of them and say, hey, I would like to learn how to talk to legislators, they actually have fellowships and they put you in it, and you get to learn these things that you need to know.
I love that. Dream.org invested in you. And I'm always a big believer in look at the fruit it bears. So if I'm around you and your fruit it's not bearing, if you've got an organization and it's about getting some money, or like there's a lot of reentry places where they want some $125 from someone just coming from prison a week. What kind of fruit are you bearing? What is your motive? What are your intentions? So
Mm,
they invested in Sheena. If someone's going to invest in you, now people are interested in dream.org because they
mm.
see that the fruit that it bears.
Yeah, bears.
Yeah.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Like you said, someone investing you taking the time out. It's best that you do your best by
Well, and they
um
didn't just leave me, Keenan. They invested me, like, so once I did their cohort, because it's called a justice cohort,
yeah.
they're invested with me for life now. I can
Oh,
call them at any time and say, "Hey, I need your support on a bill," and they're sending people down.
wow.
So they're the type of organization that I have found that was like there. Um, Another,
Yeah.
if you don't know how to talk to your legislators, a lot of people don't know about FAM. A lot of people do know about FAM, Families Against Mandatory Minimums.
Yeah.
You can actually go on their website and it'll tell you state by state what bills are going on, how to talk to legislate. They have training sessions on their website.
Mm.
So, I mean, just never be afraid. When we were in prison, we lived in that law library, we learned, right? So when we come home, we have Google now. And I know sometimes it's hard to
Oh
work
yeah.
stuff on the internet if you've never been, but you could say, "Hey, Google, find me organizations that do criminal justice in my state." And I bet you'll get a list. And you just start making phone calls and say, "Where can I fit in? What can I do to help?"
Yeah.
If that's, "Hey, can you just meet us at the Capitol? Just another body?" Yep, I'll be there.
Wow.
Just
Yeah. And
start.
be prepared. And a lot of people, folks, you got to remember, be prepared for the denials as well.
Mhm.
Be prepared for
Yeah.
them to shut
Oh
the
yeah.
door on your face. No, we don't need you, or this, that, and the third. Because there's been plenty of times where they did that to me. They pushed me to the curb.
Yeah.
There's
But
some, yeah.
now, but the crazy thing is, now some of those very same organizations are reaching back out.
Yeah.
You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? Now it's like, do I be envious, or not envious, but do I just, pretty much get payback and just say, no, forget y'all, y'all forgot about me? Or do I want to be the change that others want to see? You see what I'm
Right.
saying? Do I want to be the change that because sometimes it happens, like things happen. Sometimes, I mean, let's face it, we don't know what people are going through.
Right.
Some
Right.
people may be using these organizations and the politics to hide behind something, and a lot of times some people bring home to work. They bring home to the organization, and it leaks over, into the organization. So we just don't know sometimes. We
Yeah.
can't never wear our feelings, thinking like an individual had messaged me the day before yesterday. The message said, "Hey, I'm tired of this place. I gotta get the hell out of here. I need help." So I responded to the individual. I said, "Peace and blessings." I said, "Hey, due to, you know, a lot of prior commitments that I have right now, we can schedule a call. So here goes my candidly, to set the call up." He said, "Oh no, I'm cool. You don't want to talk now? No, I can find out by myself." Now, when you approach something with an attitude like that,
Mm-hmm.
you see who the problem is. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? And it's like,
Right.
wow. Like, but of course, I'm not going to respond in a negative way. I'm not going to block you and nothing like that, because that's working with emotions on social media thing. And that's what people work with. They work because social media, I mean, social media can tell on a person fast. Because people just don't understand that you give so much information up about you, yourself, your
Mm-hmm.
character, and how you react to social media. You get in an argument, "Oh, I want to block somebody. Oh, I hate this person." So it's just crazy. Just imagine if social media wasn't there. So now you're really
Mhm.
putting your feelings out there, like, in which we couldn't see, but you telling it on social media. So I'm sorry for going. I'm just someone
No,
else.
no,
I
no.
was just
But I
saying,
do want to touch on you were talking about get ready for the nose. Get ready for people to
no,
shut that door in your face. Also
yeah,
be ready for this. For someone to listen and let's just, we'll hash it out. We'll have coffee and I'll figure out how I can help you. And you bare your soul and then you never hear from them again,
Never hear. Oh,
and they never help you with anything.
Well, what you need to remember though, doors are closed because you weren't supposed to be there sometimes. Because God
That's
has
right.
something better for you with a
that's
different door.
true.
So those
Absolutely.
no's are always because there's something better along the way. Just keep knocking on the doors, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
So, it's just like when we come out here and we can't get a job, but we keep knocking on the doors. We keep replying. We
Exactly.
keep going until we get a job. And
That's what it
then,
is.
we get a better position. We get a better position. Same thing. You keep knocking on doors. You keep trying. And if nobody wants to take you and you want to change laws, find a lawmaker, go in there, tell them your story, and they
Mhm.
might want to sponsor a bill and build a bill around your idea. Maybe your idea is the one they've been waiting for, not that big organization. You can
Mm.
get a legislator to sponsor your bill and put it in. Or you go and you say, hey, I really seen legislator or senator such and such, you got a bill going. How can I
Mhm.
help support it? How can I help get the message out for you? And you don't need an organization for that. Work with the people directly. So if a door closes, open your own dang door. Open
Oh,
your
that's
own dang
it.
door.
That's it.
That's right. Keep on
Yeah.
knocking.
Never feel discouraged. Never feel discouraged. And sometimes people don't know that, a lot of times things come, they come in time. This
Mhm.
doesn't come overnight. Like I know we come out of prison, we want to do a lot of things, but
Ooh,
it's like we've lost a lot of time. I see you, Machine. You're back. Okay. We lost a lot of time, and it's like you gotta let things work itself out. You gotta take your time at things. You
When I
know.
first got home, I wasn't ready to go to legislators. I was
Mm,
just trying to learn how to work a phone, a
there you
computer,
go.
get a job, and sometimes people want to jump off all into that. First,
Yeah.
find out who you are out here
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that your
Yeah. Yeah.
story can matter. Give yourself some
That's it.
time as
Time.
well. It's okay when you come out not to
Yeah.
hit the ground running, to kind of take a minute. We all want to, and we never slow down after we go. But it's also
Yeah.
okay to take time and figure out, who am I out here? Who do I need to remove from my life? And who do I need to surround myself with?
That's it. That's it.
Mhm.
Going back to your environment, surrounding yourself. Make sure you have good company because bad company corrupts good morals.
Yep.
Mhm.
So you want to imitate those, who you want to be like. And yeah, you be yourself, but there may be some characteristics or some ways of people that you may want to adapt. You may want to get accustomed to.
Yeah,
'Cause
a
I tell people
circle of
all the time, if
excellence.
you hang around three knuckleheads, you're gonna be the third, the fourth. You hang
Mhm.
around 3 millionaires, you're gonna be the fourth. Hang around
Yep.
three professionals, you're gonna be the fourth. So but I know we coming up on this hour. Actually, I didn't know we went by that fast, but that just shows how much good information that we've been delivering to the people that's watching. We definitely thank you all, for coming in, leaving your comments in the chat and things like that. We appreciate everybody. But yeah, I'm not shutting the show down yet, but I know we coming up on that hour mark, which we usually stick to pretty much, which is good. But is there any type of accolades or any other things
Well,
you want to put out there between the both of you?
I do
before
want,
we go any further, I want to tell Ontario thanks. Thanks for the comments.
yeah.
You know,
Thank you.
thanks
Yeah,
for the comments. Go ahead, Sheena.
yes,
Sorry.
indeed.
I just want to let people know too that when you do go to legislators and senators, you might get 5 minutes. Okay.
Mhm.
So you're not getting, oh, I'm going to go in there and talk to them for an hour. I'm not going to do, you
Mm.
might get 5 minutes. And no, and let me tell you what else you might not get. You may not even get the senator or the legislator. You might get their staffer. But
Ooh,
remember, the staffers are the ones that are a voice for them.
in the
They
air.
listen. And so make sure to be like, oh, I don't want to meet with the staffer. No, because that's where you get to learn. So if when you do meet with the legislator, you've already met with the staffer. And one
Yeah,
day, I'm telling you, those staffers, they're wanting to be politicians one day. That's why they're there. So
Yeah.
build a relationship now with the staffers.
with the staff.
So just and never doubt yourself that your story is not important, because it is, and that
Yeah,
your voice is important. And don't ever let fear stop you or self-doubt.
absolutely. Okay, Miss Sarita.
That is sage wisdom. For
Mm,
real, that is sage wisdom, because a lot of times I feel like people just stop themselves. And
mhm,
just like you said, the staffer, we never
mhm.
know who we're talking to. We never know who actually owns that show or that, that building that you're in, who can affect change. So this is just way off left, but treat everybody with the same respect you wanted
There you
when you
go.
weren't given it. Because I
Yes, yes.
remember being in that khaki uniform and being talked down to. And now I know that, hey, I will never talk down to another human being. So and if you're in the legislature, the Jeff City, there's sometimes you can't make it past the receptionist. So she might not even be a staffer, but guess what? Be kind, be sweet to her, and she can probably
Mhm.
get you right in front of whoever you need next time you're
Mhm.
there.
There you go. That's it. And like you said, no matter what, no matter if you're black, blue, white, yellow, whatever the case may be, you treat people the way you want to be treated. You know, you
Yeah.
don't judge a person by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
Character.
Period.
Go ahead.
You know, so
Ooh,
but
Martin Luther.
you know,
That's
y'all know
right.
who that's by.
Yeah,
But
Martin Luther King
you
Jr.
know, but that's it, and that's how you do it. You know, you go into the room being you. You know, you
Yeah.
don't go in there and try to be nobody else but yourself. It's very important. You know,
What
it
was it
takes
that
you a
God?
long way.
Well, what was the other quote Gandhi said? I remember you did. So when I got CDVs in prison, I would always put a famous quote on there. Those were always
Mhm.
my statements. But
Mhm.
you can judge a country by the way it treats its animals and prisoners.
Mm,
Wow. I
wow,
know another one for CDV
powerful.
is a conduct violation, conduct disciplinary violation within prison. Another one we like to put on there is no weapon formed against me shall prosper.
Amen.
Remember?
Yeah, that's
I
it.
was
That's
always
it.
putting quotes.
Yes,
That's my
That's it.
statement.
yes.
Yeah,
But
we
it's
haven't
that
missed.
circle of excellence, Phoebe. Keep those
Yeah,
positive people around you. Keep that circle of excellence, you know?
never
And
negative
and
people
once
never
more,
win.
sage wisdom, Sheena,
Mm-hmm.
don't forget your worth. Know your worth.
Mm,
Know your
knowing your
worth.
worth.
A lot
You
of
That's
times
know,
it.
we're the only ones that don't see it.
sometimes people they can't figure out how to find their worth. So before,
Mhm.
if that's the problem, because when we come out here we get lost. I got lost and I
Wow.
forgot who I was. I try to keep it very real. Like people come out and do all this stuff. I fought depression, suicide thoughts, going back to prison.
Mm,
I wasn't your normal I felt like, and there's a lot of people go through it, but they don't talk about it. So
wow.
maybe one day we can talk about,
Oh,
you know,
we're gonna talk about that. Absolutely.
sometimes you come home and it's not okay and you got to figure it
Right.
out. So you got to remember you got to encourage yourself,
Yeah.
because if there's
Mm,
nobody else to encourage you, you encouraged yourself in prison. You encouraged yourself to walk away from that fight, to tell that
mhm,
officer when you wanted to throat punch him. Instead, you said, yes, sir. And you went and did that extra duty. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So, I mean, if we did it in the worst of the worst places, we
mm.
can do it out here when we have the freedom to walk away.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love
You
it.
made a great point right there. Great point. And yes, we will be talking about those type of struggles that we go through. Like you said, maybe the depression, you could, like you say, the anxiety, the suicidal thoughts. These things are real. Yes,
Yeah.
these spirits are real. These vibes are very real. And like you said, people don't talk about them. They'll rather just isolate because they don't want anybody to judge them. They talk with somebody, but then that person goes share their information to somebody else. So it's a big thing. But hearing it from you two, especially from a woman's perspective, is very powerful because again, I know that there's individuals that are watching. They may not be common, but there's individuals that are watching. I know personally that like are going through these similar things, but when they hearing somebody else that's been through the ringer, that's been through the prison, been through so much, go through it the same way, but still are able to overcome, that speaks volume. That speaks volume. It gives other people hope and courage to come and step out of that shell.
Yeah.
Because believe it or not, you guys probably saved somebody's lives tonight. We as a whole, sharing these type of things.
Right.
Because there's a lot of broken people, not just in prison, but out here in the world. There are
Yeah.
some people that are truly in prison out here in the world, stuck in
Worse than the
bondage
ones
in the
inside.
mind.
Yeah.
They're in bondage
Absolutely.
of the mind. So it's so many things that I know because I'm quite sure y'all get the feedback. I get a lot of feedback from
Hmm.
especially on LinkedIn, therapists that I've just spoke to. These people are like, wow, like you guys have a strong story. I said, yes,
Yeah.
and we're looking forward to networking and sharing more and coming through the whole world with this. This is not something we're just doing just on pastime. No, this is serious. You know, we really want to make a change and help and reach people. So, and without further ado, if you guys want to go ahead and I see we coming up on that hour, give your accolades where we can find y'all. However you want to do it. You want to start off, Miss Sheena?
Yeah, you can find me at Prison Did Not Break Me is a Facebook group for anybody who was formerly incarcerated or have loved ones who were incarcerated or support those who are coming home. You can also email me at sespern75@gmail.com, or you can find me on TikTok, crazy enough. We're talking about TikTok. Prison Did Not Break Me as well. But definitely feel free to reach out. Feel free if you need advice before going to a senator or legislator, we can talk. I'll give you my phone number. We can have conversation. And just know that I'm here. You're not alone. Your voice matters. If you're incarcerated and watching this, we're not giving up. We're fighting for you. Don't give up on us.
That's right. That's right. Keenan, I just want to thank you for bringing us on again, bringing me on. Sheena, I just want to thank you for always showing up and showing out. Can't wait to go to the Capitol with you. And that's all I've got.
Yes. All right. Yeah. Thank you once again. Thank you both for coming on and being faithful. You know, every Thursday you guys have been coming and, you know, supporting the podcast, supporting, bringing awareness, bringing information. You know, a lot of people are really benefiting off of this. And again, I thank y'all all for tuning in. Thank you for the comments. Feel free to reach out to any of us. Again, it's your host, Keenan Hudson, on the Reentry Connect podcast, changing self to changing laws. But without further ado, we're going to say goodbye, you know, for this evening, for this time. You know, we're going to be back next week, God's willing, and we're going to be sharing some more informative things. Is that a go, y'all? What do y'all think?
Absolutely. Take care.
Absolutely. Take care. Good night.
Bye-bye. Good night.